Haja! Hi, podcast listeners. This is Molly Gazay from A Living Album Podcast. This week on A Living Album Podcast, we have Adrian, who is the owner and creator of the Birthmark Society Clothing Apparel shop. He is an incredible human being, wonderful birthmark buddy. We've actually never met in person, but we've been talking for a few years over the internet, and he just has a wonderful, beautiful message to share about birthmark awareness. So I cannot wait for you to meet him. If you like this episode and you love hearing what Adrian's talking about, go ahead and click and like the subscribe button wherever you're listening to this. And at the end of the month, which is next week, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's next week, the song that we've been talking about this whole month, Traveler's Lament, will be released on all social media streaming platforms. So go check that out January 31st. And yeah, I always say without further ado, so let's try to do something different. All right, and now, to the episode. Yeah, I think that worked.
I absolutely loved your song, Traveler's Lament. The way, I guess, the actual music in the background behind the lyrics, it just gave a certain vibe. And like when I think of that vibe, it's almost kind of like mystical, like relaxing, slow moving, like slow moving. Like a slow-moving dance. That's what it felt like for me, and that's what I really liked about this song. And then obviously the lyrics kind of, I can relate to them, and we can kind of get into that a little bit later on. But I absolutely loved it.
Wandering around with the lights off, baby. Guided by the wind down an empty road. Dig deep for the feelings you buried so long ago. Place them on a dartboard. Here's where the daggers thrown.
I'm so glad to hear that. Because it's always good to hear people like the song, and then also, like you said, relate to the song. And for the listeners who are here, this is Adrian, and we are a part of the Birthmark Club. And we met online because we've never actually officially met in person, right?
No, this is the first time. I think we've known each other online for, I'd say, over a year now. I think summer of 2022.
Yep, I think so. Yeah, you reached out.
Oh, wow.
We were chatting about birthmarks and about the need for more visibility in the arts. And, I'm excited to talk to you more about that later, about Birthmark Society. So,
of course.
So I'm really happy to hear that you felt so connected to the song. And I would love to hear like why and how you connected to it.
I think, and this is going to go back to like birthmark related, some of the lyrics I was looking at, dig deep for your feelings, place them on a dartboard. And you also talk about like the one thing that really stood out. Let me find it, was, take my hand and jump with me, darling. What's down there, I don't know. Fall with me. We'll find our own way. And I think the reason I can relate to that, or it spoke to me, was, as somebody like you with a birthmark, not knowing anybody for 39 years of my life, finding your own way is in itself a challenge. And that's what I kind of felt and related to that particular piece of your song.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, no, it's true. It's like not knowing anybody anyone else without a birthmark for a long time can be like.
And your own journey too. Like, find it throughout your own journey, finding your way. And I don't know, if that was meant on your end with writing this, but that's what I got from it.
Well, it's the most important thing is that you got that, right? Like my interpretations of the song are, I think, always changing, especially the way that when I talk to people about the songs. It's awesome to hear like how it related to them, and then I go, "Oh yeah, I can totally see that." And then I'm like, "Oh yeah, I could see like me writing that at that time and feeling that way." And then talking to you about like the birthmark, I'm like, "Yeah, I could totally see that." And like not knowing a lot of people with a birthmark or not knowing how to navigate conversations, like I've had some wild conversations about my birthmark.
Really?
Oh, just a little snippet. Like I was a young teenager, probably preteen. And I was waiting for my parents at a mall, and the security guard came up to me and was like, "Hey, is that jelly on your chest?" And I was
jelly?
Like, yeah. And I was like, "No." And he's like, "Oh, I thought it was jelly. I was going to ask you if I could lick it off."
You're kidding me. That is the weirdest birthmark response I've ever heard.
I have a lot of them. They're pretty wild. I was like, what? It was ridiculous.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah.
And actually, now that I'm thinking about it a little bit more, like I'm looking at the lyrics and, again, back, like, because that's the one that really stuck with me is, take my hand and jump with me, darling. What's down there? I don't know. Fall with me. We'll find our way. And feeling it more, it's like me meeting the community for the first time and then trusting the community as I fall with them into my journey. Right.
Yeah.
And I think that that's why that particular part really resonates and sticks with me, because it reminds me of that first time I reached out, to you and everybody else. And then, I was afraid because of, just like you, of judgment and, I'm already different. And so just trusting that process and that part and that journey from the beginning, that's what I got from that.
I love that. And like, I love that it's because it is powerful, like that sense of community, right? Like that was something I think I talked to somebody else in 2023 about. So the end of 2023 really had a lot of signs from the universe almost of like connecting with people and like the connection and the value of connecting with people and the value of hearing other people's experiences and stories, especially especially with this whole thing with like the birthmark movement that has kind of started slowly on social media. And I love that you got that out of Traveler's Lament, because I traveled around a lot. I experienced a lot of different people, and so the song is really like a component of all those time periods in my life and the growth that I got and the community that has built because of that traveling and that growth and that connection.
Wow. Now it's even more meaningful to me.
Aww.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So yeah, it's got its elements, for both.
Absolutely. The memories that it brings up, I think I kind of touched on that with the beginning of the journey, and kind of like it's making me remember the process of how we got to this point within my journey, kind of like what you just talked about, traveling everywhere and writing about it, making something so powerful. For me, it's just bringing up like the whole process of like, that first person I met, the second, the third, all the way up to, being invited to a podcast. Like this is, I never thought I my life would get to this point, and meeting everybody, and so that's the memories it invokes in me.
And you've also been creating a path for yourself too within the community. Like you've really been connecting with people. You came out. I was so sad I didn't get to meet you when you came out in New York. It was so sad. But it was amazing. Like you've been really making a path and like connecting with people in a very meaningful way in the community. I'm
trying.
You're succeeding.
I don't know yet, but no, it's been one of the most difficult things to try to achieve, because it's prior to this, this isn't my background. all this social stuff, and to throw myself into it. One of the quotes that sticks out that I try to tell myself all the time is, everything you've ever wanted is on the other side of fear. And
yes,
what I've learned is that once you're on that other side, it's not that scary, and just keep going and do it again and again and again.
Yeah.
So it's been an amazing journey so far.
Well, we're better in the world for having you doing it.
I hope so.
I know so.
So after hearing it a lot, and it gave me this like fantasy vibe when I close my eyes listening to it, where it's like maybe something's chasing you in the background, and then everything is kind of like slow moving, like waltz dancing. And when you talk about like come with me and fall down, like you go into a rabbit hole, and then come out the other side, where is this thing still chasing you? But when you're on the other side, after you fall, what's there? And that's the second part of the song. And so then in my mind, that's kind of what, I'm seeing visually while I'm listening to the lyrics, and then also the actual music in the background. That's what I think. And I think that's kind of cool.
Oh yeah, I got goosebumps when you said like falling through a hole, like a rabbit hole, and coming out the other side, and not knowing. Oh, I love that. Right. Love that. I think you're the fourth person now to review the song, because this is at the end of January, and it's so funny. Everyone comes out of this song with like a fantastical element to it,
like fantasy type of thing.
Yeah, and I love that. It's so funny too, because in my mind it has elements of that, but there are other things where I'm like, oh man, like I see like other things happening that I don't want to give it away, but every time that you or anybody else has said something about the music video idea, I'm like, oh, that's a great element to add in. Oh, that's a great element to add in, and like it creates this like big picture journey. I'm hoping to one day be able to raise enough money to do a music video and potentially add in some elements of everybody's idea so that it becomes like this community music video. So fingers crossed, but I love that, because it is kind of Alice in Wonderland in that way.
That's what to put it in words, that's the theme, Alice in Wonderland. I just couldn't think of it off the top of my head. That's
cool. I love that comparison. Oh, that's so cool. And then like in terms of an elevator pitch, if someone was listening to this song and you were like, or you said, oh, I just listened to Molly's song, what would be your elevator pitch for those people?
I would have to say you have to listen to the song if everybody's on their own personal journey. I think by listening to this song, it will help you relate to finding your journey, your path, because that's what I got from it. So that would be my elevator pitch.
I love that. That's great. Oh, I love this. All good feels. Awesome.
And, side note, I don't know if you want to, have this, but I am actually a musician.
What?
Yeah. I am a full-blown percussionist. I haven't played in a long time, but like music, different time signatures, percussion, guitar, like my background is progressive rock and roll, prog rock, they call Dream
Nice.
Theater, bands like that. So like when I hear music, like it really resonates with me because of my music background. And I did marching band, drumline, drum set, percussion bands. So like when I hear music, I understand it. And that's why I think when I tell you I really like your song and I like the words and I like the actual like music behind it, it's coming from a truthful place because I understand it. Some people that, don't have music background, they'll hear it for, a catchy phrase or, just a beat. But for me, it goes a little bit more in depth because of my background.
Yeah.
So
it's true. The reason why I started this podcast to begin with was because I wanted people from all different backgrounds, like whether they're musicians or actors who use music as a way to get into character, or if they're dancers who, use music for different ways, or even just like anyone who is in the world who uses music as a way to like unwind or to feel something or to make them feel less alone. I wanted that element from everybody's point of view. And I love your point of view because it does give that percussionist aspect to it.
Yeah. And I think you hit it on the head too when you said it makes you feel. And I think more so when I hear music personally, it has to invoke feeling. And if it doesn't, then I can't listen to the song. And for me to listen to your song, for close to 50 minutes over and over again to let it kind of soak in, with what I talked about earlier, it's like, that's music, not, some of the stuff we hear, commercially. This is actually music and your voice is actually music, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes me feel so good. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Oh, you're so amazing. I'm so thankful that you listened to this song. Is there anything that you want to say or ask questions about before we move on to Birthmark Society?
Well, yeah, one of your, who do you sound like vocally? And
yes.
I think your range, not only this song, but some of the other songs I've heard in the past, kind of remind me of Adele.
Ooh.
Yeah, because like even that, ooh, like there's range to that. I can't do that. It sounds raspy and horrible.
No.
And I think to have a music voice like yourself, there's an aspect where it has to be natural. You can't learn it. And I don't know if that's what it was like with you learning music or learning singing. Excuse me, but like your voice sounds like it can't be natural, or I'm sorry, it is natural, or it can't be taught. If that makes sense, because in this song the range is really high.
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Wide. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no. Yes, great question and great observation. I love Adele, so that's like amazing. And I don't think I've gotten that before yet. In these interviews, yeah. So that's really cool. Yeah, I am self-taught. So I've done some vocal. Yeah, and I've done some vocal, stuff with people. Izetta Feng is an amazing Bay Area coach who taught me here in New York. I had done a couple classes with Michael Pesh, but not consistently. I just never had the money or the opportunity to really do that consistently. So
with vocal coaches.
Yeah. And we didn't grow up with a lot of money, so there wasn't any money for extracurriculars like that. So I did do some choir, but I had asthma, and so they thought that I was a smoker for a long time. And
after high school?
In high school.
Wow.
I went to a very interesting high school. When I went to two different high schools, one of them was very interesting. The other one in California, but I only went to it for like a year and a half.
Whereabouts in California? Up north or down south?
In the Bay Area, Silicon Valley.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Because you're in California too, right?
Yeah, in Southern California.
That's right. Yeah, SoCal, Silicon. So we didn't really grow up with consistency and the opportunity to do that. And then, so I guess you're right. A lot of it is very much self-taught. A lot of it is, I call it the University of YouTube. You can learn 100%. A lot on there.
100%.
Yeah, just like where this is going to go.
Right. So when you say self-taught, did you who did you flock to musically for voice and practice?
I loved Whitney Houston. I sang Whitney Houston till I was blue in the face, and
she has that long range when she's right. It's amazing.
Yeah, it was her and Amy Lee from Evanescence. Those were the two. Yeah,
I love her.
Yeah, they were it for me as I was growing up. So I emulated them a lot. And like you said, Whitney Houston,
you can hear it in your music too.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. And see, and again, my reference to Adele with that pitch, the range. Mm-hmm. So now I get it when you say Whitney Houston. That's where it comes from.
Yeah, Yeah, because she was just vocally just like amazing and could go from really low to really high. And then with Amy Lee, it's those long haunting notes, beautiful, beautiful haunting notes that I just absolutely adored. Whereas like when she was younger, you know, you're just still trying to learn your instrument. I couldn't sing high at all when I was 21. I was like total alto until Izetta Fang was like, no, you can sing higher. I was like, I don't know if I can. So
And then you started and it kept progressing.
Yeah. It was all self-proclaimed prophecy. You can't sing high, so you're not gonna sing high. And then as soon as I believed I could, then I did.
You did.
I did. So thank you so much. And thank you so much for listening to it and spending 50 minutes listening to the song.
No, just today. Just today.
Oh, geez Louise. That's incredible. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Well, guys, for listening to this, January 31st. So next week, I have one more episode for this month, and it will, Traveler's Lament will be out on all streaming platforms, and you can listen to it for 15 minutes in one day.
You better.
You better. Adrian will get you. Okay, let's talk about Birthmark Society and how.
Let's do it.
I love the hat. I ordered mine. It's coming in soon.
It's coming in the mail. I can't wait for you to receive it. Obviously, thank you for the support. You know, it means the world to me that I'm able to serve our community, our Birthmark community, or our Birthmark Society.
Yeah, our Birthmark brethren and sisters and peoples, right? I love. Okay, so we had talked about this about a year ago. What prompted you to want to start a company for birthmarks?
So, I guess I'll just start from the beginning really quick. I found the community through Instagram. I just typed in hashtag birthmarks because I was curious. And lo and behold, a ton of photos with people that have birthmarks popped up. And I was like, I'm not alone? What the heck? Because I had never met anybody my whole life. I'm 40 now, but up until 39, I had never met anybody with a birthmark like me. And so to see it, number one, online, I said, I can't believe there's people like us. And I was hesitant. You know, I would add public accounts. Your account I added, and kind of just, you know, watch from afar. And, you know, then it was that first like, oh my God, I did that. And then it was like my first comment, you know, nice to meet you. But then as I progressed with meeting people like yourself and everybody else throughout the community, I kind of looked inward and said, I think there's something missing. And that's when I think I even asked you this, you know, in your opinion, you know, what is missing from our community? And I think one of the biggest things you talked about was awareness. And then I started kind of digging more in depth about like, okay, awareness, what does awareness mean? And then I just started thinking like, we are all wearing brands of some sort, whether it's, you know, sports brand, high end, just whatever. And then I looked and Googled and looked, and there wasn't anything that represented us the way I thought we should be represented. And so I created Birthmark Society because, I mean, we technically are our own society. And, you know, that I had to have birthmark in it. And so that's kind of the concept of it. And decided that we needed something to call our own, something that represented us the way, you know, I felt we should, which is to uplift, celebrate, champion those within the community and those that support us. And then the other thing that I found that was missing was community connection. And it's one thing to like and talk or comment about a picture with somebody else online, but like, how do I bridge that gap? And I think it's through a brand, through our brand. And that's kind of the concept of it.
It's an amazing concept.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, no, because like so interesting, like I've noticed a lot of, like you said, there's a lot of brands that we wear with the logos and stuff like that. And it was, I think around the time that you had messaged, I had made like a magazine cover.
Yes,
that was like
I remember.
called Birthmark Beauties or Badass Birthmarks or something. And I was like, man, like, why don't we have something that celebrates this? Because when you look at media and you look at TV, you don't see people with a lot of birthmarks. There's like one guy who has it, like, I think his name's Oliver. He has one like up here. There's another comedian who I know has it on Veep.
Chloe, I think is her name.
Chloe? Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure. It's a guy. He has a red birthmark on his face and he's a comedian on Veep.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's red on his face. And then there's a woman on Pose who also has one, but she covers it up and it's on her face right here. And so it's always been interesting as an actor. I've always, had people go, I love your birthmark, but we need to cover it up or like keep it as something special. And for certain things like reenactments, it totally makes sense because you're replaying somebody else, right? Like that makes total sense. But there's anything, and it always frustrated me because anytime I'd watch a movie, it was always about when there was a birthmark involved, like in It, where the little girl at the beginning has a birthmark on her face and she's like being shunned and it's not celebrated. It's considered something to be like, that's
negative.
Ugly. Negative. It's always negative.
Yeah.
And so I've been like aching for something where there is a storyline with people with birthmarks and that's normal and that's fine. And it's actually celebrated.
Right. Where the narrative is changed. And I mean, to be honest, and I've had this discussion with other people, not just birthmarks, but skin differences.
Yeah.
Skin differences in media, movies, TV, whatever that whole genre is portrayed as negative and devalued, less than human. And I think it's such a horrible thing that it's not brainwashing, but it's telling the world that if you have a skin difference, you're below
absolutely
the rest of society. And that's one thing I'm hoping through branding, through our brand, that we can continue to spread awareness, because I think awareness will change that conception of, hey, skin difference is not bad or negative.
Yeah,
it's unique. Right? And I'm hoping as we move forward as a community, hopefully we can get to that point where everybody else sees us and celebrates us and, is along for what we're trying to bring to the table.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so on that, how has your birthmark been, what's your relationship been with your birthmark? For me, I've definitely had some fun moments with people. But overall, I've never been ashamed. I've always been very stick to my guns. Like, this is who I am. This is my birthmark. And I don't think that there's only been maybe 3 times in my entire life that I ever actually covered up with makeup. And one was just to play and have fun. So I've never had a negative relationship with my birthmark, but I know a lot of people have. So what has your relationship been with your birthmark? And has it been a love-hate relationship or?
It's been more of a love than hate. In my culture, I'm Filipino, and so in my culture, growing up, my parents, my siblings, my family never taught me that I was different. They would even tell me that your birthmark is a sign of luck, and so it was never. Same with you?
Oh yeah, well, not in my culture, but in California, I had a lot of people. Indian guy came up to me and was like, your birthmark's good luck. You need to do the lottery. Right.
And so because of that, I never, because they didn't treat me like I was different. I never felt different. But then growing up, bullying, stuff like that happens. And I think the most negative thing that became hate towards my birthmark was I went to a bar. We go to bars and clubs to socialize, right? Mm-hmm. I walked up to a gal, said hi. She turned around, looked at me, pointed at my birthmark and said, ew, turned around and walked away.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Ew. Ew to her.
Right. Exactly. And that shook me for a while where, I questioned why do I have this, why me type of thing. And that was for a good 6 to 12 months. It was kind of a down phase, but then recovered from that. And, for the better part of my life, I love my birthmark.
Yeah.
And I love what it's brought more than anything. And I don't think if it wasn't for my birthmark and our birthmark community, I don't know where I'd be at in life. This is my passion, and to serve our community. And if I can talk about this really quick, like one of the goals of the brand is to create some type of like 10 to 12 week all-inclusive summer camp for people with birthmarks, parents with a child, teens, kids, adults, where we can all go, relate to, get to know each other, especially for the young kids. Because if I would have had a birthmark friend growing up as a young kid, like who knows what my life would have been, right? Somebody that we can talk to the way we're talking right now, but at a young age growing up. And so I'm hoping to create that later on for the next generation. Because I think if they had what I'm trying to create, if we had that as kids, I think our lives would be so much different in a more positive way.
I cannot agree with you more. That is so, I'm like literally I was like tearing up hearing you talk about that. It's so true. It's like, I remember I was homeschooled for a while. And then when I went to public school, I literally, like you're talking about the woman in the bar, I had someone look at me and go, if you didn't have that, I would be your friend. Like that fucking mattered.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
So
it's horrible.
It's stupid. It's like so silly. And like as kids, there's only so much that people talk, and like we're all afraid of like what everybody's going to say if you're next to the person who's different. But just like Rudolph, I was listening to that song the other day, and Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer was different than all the other reindeers. And he was the best. He was the best. Yeah. So you know what? So I love true. I love this goal. And I hope that everyone listening buys a Birthmark Society hat or hoodie or whatever, and helps pursue that goal. I
appreciate that. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's when, oh God, I had a thought and I really wanted to share it with you. And now it's like, so I was like, all getting teary and emotional. What I love about Birthmark Society too, and people with birthmarks, is that it crosses all lines of gender and race and religion and creed and everything.
It deletes all of that.
Deletes it. It just completely obliterates it. And what I think you're doing with Birthmark Society is so important, because it's taking all of those elements and saying, none of it matters. We're here to support each other with our birthmarks and to create something beautiful, a community that supports one another. And I love that.
And I'm a firm believer throughout my journey that like we are bonded by our birthmarks. And, if you and I didn't have our birthmarks, we would not be having this podcast, period.
Nope.
And I think that's how amazing and powerful that we have to look at our birthmarks, that it can create these types of connections, in this space where we're celebrated. And, that's just it's one of the biggest parts that I feel internally. And, now I'm starting to get teary-eyed too, talking about it. But yeah, another thing also, if I can squeeze this in there. So, as I was telling you earlier, I live full-time in a converted van. The other goal that I'm going to try to do and accomplish is, with the van, I'm going to try to drive across the United States, meet as many people as I can, and I'm going to document the journey in long video format on YouTube. And another goal for this is to bring awareness to the rest of the world, that even though we are different, like we're succeeding at life. Like it's not holding us back. Like with you, a singer, songwriter, actress, like, and then I want to document that for everybody else, not just that type of profession, but everybody else's professions. And it's going to be fun.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I cannot wait to hear more about this. And like I said, if you need any help planning things out, we can chat.
Right.
Because I would love to help you with that. So we have a little bit of time left. So I would love if you had any advice for someone who wants to start a movement, start their own company in like a bite-sized thing. What would be like the number one thing that you would tell people to do?
Look within and ask yourself, what is your why? Those are, for me, I had to look within, and then I asked myself, what is my why? And for me, my why was accompanied by who, which is our Birthmark community. And so that's how I kind of, internally started, and then try to be as narrow as possible, with your niche, I guess. If I were to do this and it was more broad, it was, for people of all skin differences, it would be a different outcome compared to, sticking with who I am, my identity, and the identity of our community. And so that would be my advice. And watch a ton of YouTube, because you can learn so much from it. That's where I learned, and whatever your niche is, find that on YouTube, learn from it, take your notes, take as much time as possible. Don't be in a rush.
I love that. Yep. I 100% agree. Thank you so much for being on the show. It has been amazing having you here. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today.
Of course. And it was a pleasure meeting you, Molly. Thank you so much for having me on.